It's the G20 weekend. The summit has started. All eyes are on India. Global leaders have gathered for the G20 Summit. India is playing host and the Indian capital is decked up. The security is bulked up, and beyond the headlines, beyond the analysis, beyond the agenda, let's rewind and understand the basics.
Right, absolutely. First questions first. What is the G20? The G20, it's the group of 19 countries and the European Union. Why should you care about these countries? Because the G20 members represent around 85% of the global GDP. They account for more than 75% of the global trade, and they represent 2/3 of the world population. Simply put, the G20, it's a big club of countries which will be meeting to discuss political and economic issues which impact you and me. What comes out of these meetings will impact us in more ways than one.
Now, why was the G20 set up? Let's talk about that. It was founded in 1999 after the Asian financial crisis. The goal was to get finance ministers in a huddle to come up with new ways to save their economies. Later, the first Leaders Summit was held in 2008 to cope with the fallout of the financial crisis of 2008. And now, the G20 has broadened its agenda to cater to more topical issues.
Right. Climate change and sustainable development have been added to pressing issues here. Which countries are included in this club now? The European Union, of course, along with Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Russia, South Africa, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the United Kingdom, the United States, and India, of course, which is hosting the G20 Summit in the capital, New Delhi. Every year, a new G20 member state takes over the presidency. India will be setting the agenda for the leaders this time. So if you're watching us from around the world, you should be glued in to what's happening in New Delhi. What will this G20 summit be about? One Earth, one family, one future. And this is the theme that's been set up by host India for this year's summit.
Part of the focus will be sustainable development here. Russia's war in Ukraine will be a topic of discussion, goes without saying, and debate. But economic issues, climate change, education will come up as well. India will be pushing for a human-centric approach to issues like climate change and food security. Another focus is reshaping the international debt architecture. And once the big bilaterals get underway, big deals are expected here as well.
Now, as India is set to become the voice of the global south, we'll have to wait and see what comes out of the summit. For now, we know that Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russia's Vladimir Putin, Ukraine's Zelensky are not attending. But once the remaining G20 leaders sit down, the names of those who've skipped the summit will definitely come up. Leaders have started to arrive in New Delhi. These are the live visuals that we're getting from New Delhi. You can see the security here. The leaders have started to gather for the crucial G20 summit over the weekend. Lots of bilaterals have been lined up over the course of the next 2 days as well. These are the visuals right now that we're getting from New Delhi.
Deutschland, it seems like Olaf Scholz has made his way to New Delhi, and his arrival was scheduled around 8 a.m. I think that is what we're seeing now. Security is definitely there, and I think Emmanuel Macron is expected next later in the day, and that's probably the last of the arrivals. Olaf Scholz making his way to New Delhi, and the car is waiting for him as we get live visuals from the runway side.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.